Hey everybody, MBA 631. I hope you're doing great this week. I just wanted to start or offer a just a summary of the content that's delivered and part of week number 3. Again, MBA 631. So week 3 and kind of what we're dealing with as we start to continue to plan marketing. We talked last week about mission of the organization and some of the things with product portfolios and how the organization's organized in some ways. And what this chapter looks at and what we look at this week is the start of and kind of the hard evaluation of the environment of the industry that you're working in. And much of the theme of this chapter deals with shifting, changing, evolving conditions that a business will find itself in within an industry and in the context of the markets that they're trying to serve. So the topics really focus on that kind of overarching theme. One of the things you'll notice, the text spends a lot of time walking through a macro environment analysis. So looking at things like the political environment, the natural environment, technological environment, political and regulatory environment, and the cultural environment of the market. This is kind of a typical type of a thing that we do when we're in evaluating strategy, kind of moving forward. It's a forward-thinking idea. There are some other tools that are available too, one of which the text talks about is it shows the product life cycle chart. So again, kind of understanding where you are in the growth, introduction, maturity, decline stage, things like that. Those are helpful to know when you're, again, evaluating the environment that you're conducting business in. And then also the competitive structure of your industry. And for that, the text uses Porter's 5 forces model to explain this idea of pressures from suppliers, pressures from distributors, downstream, pressures from new entrants, from existing and from existing competitors as well. So that model is helpful too. So again, this chapter kind of dances around a lot of topics, all of which though really focus on this notion of changing or shifting or evolving conditions in the competitive landscape from an industry's perspective, but also from a market perspective too. So that's kind of in a nutshell what we're looking at here. The text provides some tools to analyze the turbulence or stability of an industry, which is very helpful. It also highlights something called space analysis, and that's something that I also do a deeper dive into a little bit, and also provide you with an Excel sheet where you can plug in numbers and you can identify strategies that you would employ based on the conditions that you inputted in the Excel sheet. So there's a tool there that's available for you that's helpful, corresponding with your text topics as well. Beyond that, a point of emphasis that I provide or I want you to know about is something called the product market concept. Product market structure analysis is something that we do when we want to understand the relative role that the industry players and competitors and we play as a firm in the marketplace, and want to understand markets simultaneously. So product market structure analysis is something that I have a video on. Included in that is something called the product market grid or chart, which is again a managerial tool that helps you define strategy, and in particular growth strategies, taking into account products that are in the marketplace and markets. And it's really an extension of, it's aggressive extension of the Ansoff growth share matrix, or growth matrix, excuse me. The Ansoff growth matrix, which I think most people who've had a marketing class have seen before. That model, the Ansoff model, has four different growth strategies. One's called penetration, market penetration, one's called product development, one's called market development, and one is called diversification. And so the application of the tool that we talk about, the product market chart, helps you identify those strategies. So the video is a little lengthy, or the content of the lecture is a little lengthy, so bear that in mind, but it's helpful. From an application standpoint, there are some key readings that you should look at this week in particular. One is called Market and Myopia, and it really lays the groundwork for understanding and appreciating change in a marketplace. So again, the theme of this chapter is all about identifying change and adapting to it. And so Marketing Myopia, it's a seminal article. It's an HBR piece written in 1960. And it is essential to read for context, but also to understand this idea that we can't work with blinders thinking that the industry and market won't evolve without us also evolving too. So super important to read that. A couple other pieces. Ford hires a new CMO away from Toyota. It's just a practical example today of how you see a company that's shifting its priorities through HR by hiring away a Toyota CMO who is focused on electronic vehicle technology. Which will reshape, quite frankly, in a lot of ways, what Ford does moving forward in that space. So again, it's a reaction to an evolving market example. The reflection this week deals with another market. It's the writing instrument market. So there's a piece from a number of years ago, Pencil Makers Try to Look Sharp. There's also a corresponding industry report. And so the reflection asks you to consider the different markets around the world and the evolving nature of writing instruments, pencils and pens and markers, those types of things. So again, the key here is to think about which companies are best poised for this change, for change in general, and which ones aren't. And just kind of think about the stability versus the turbulence that might exist in a marketplace or in an industry there. If you can, it's helpful to incorporate space analysis in some of this work to see if you can apply that. Now, it isn't going to be perfect and it's not going to be complete, but I want you to at least think through processes on how you would manage in a lot of these reflections. And there's no right or wrong answer. Sometimes I'm asked that question on these reflections, except that some answers are better than others based on how well they're justified and how well you present your suggestions. If you present a suggestion and don't really have sound rationale, then that would be probably a weaker, submission. But generally speaking, we want to try to apply to some degree some of the things that we're learning. Okay. Other readings that might be supplemental that you might find helpful. One of which is the environmental analysis. It's basically a book chapter by David Acker. And again, it's just a summary of analyzing the macro environment. So it's supplemental to your text. It gives you just, if you're kind of an eager learner and you want to get more background on this, this is something that it will do. The other articles, and there are several, relate to Harley Davidson. And this is not really part of the reflection, but if you read these articles together, and they're all real short, but if you read these articles together, it paints a very broad picture on the evolutionary change in the motorcycle industry and how Harley Davidson has experienced some dips in their market share. While not huge, they're still concerned, particularly by introducing, but by one thing, their clientele or the customers doing something called aging out. And then replacing aging out customers with younger customers who fit different demographic schemes and skew more women, female than male, and is really redefining kind of who purchases in that product category. Also, they're dealing with electric vehicle product innovations, which is new for them and a dramatic change from something they've done in the past. So again, it's a series of articles, all of which talk about and kind of you can surmise from them the company's reaction to changing market forces. So it's just a great application if you look at those to think about how you can apply the class concepts to real life decisions that are being made in a very active product market space. Okay, so again, this is just a kind of a kickoff for week 3. I hope you're doing great. Let me know if you have any questions. So as you move forward into next week, a big element that should be on your table will be the first case. First case is going to be due next week, so this is something that should probably be a priority. It's a very important, the cases are very important. They're graded with rigor and they have a high point value. Think of them as a test. That's the way you should approach those. It's the significance of a test, and it's really kind of a marking point in how you critically think and how you approach decision making. It illustrates all of those types of things with the scope scenario, and so that should be coming up this week too, as well as reflection 3 and just understanding the material from the text. Okay, have a great week. I hope you're doing good. Let me know if you have any questions. Also, don't forget, after this week, starting next week, so not this week, but after this week, we'll pause. We'll spend an entire week just hitting a little bit of a refresh, but focusing on our projects. So, all right, have a great week. Talk to you soon.